Hey y'all, this is Suzette Viradon and welcome to my channel where I'm redefining my 60s on my own terms. And you have really joined at a really great time because I have been doing a Redefining Love series where I'm talking about how to properly vet a relationship partner. And so this is another installment in that. I started doing it because I've noticed that a lot of people share my story where we just honestly, we knew how to get out of a bad relationship, but we didn't know how to be in a good one. And so I felt like what I had learned over these years of trial and error and finally getting my footing to dig myself out of the hole that I seem to always find myself in when it came to romantic love. I wanted to just share some things that I have learned in hopes that it will help you to get your footing as well, and that you, like me, will find great love. I know it's out there. We just have to know how to recognize it, right? And so there's some questions that need to be answered, either by a potential partner or questions that you need to ask yourself so that you come to the table fully aware of who you are, what you want, and what you have that makes you worthy of romantic love. So today I want to talk about this. And I don't know any better way of saying it than saying it just like this. You want a man, but do you really like a man? I want that to soak in a little bit. I know you say you want a man, but do you really like men? And if you're a fella listening to it, then the same question. You say you want a woman, but I have to ask, do you really like women? Now, the reason I'm asking that is because a lot of times when I hear complaints, most complaints really reveal how much we don't really know about each other. How much men don't know about women, and how much women don't really understand how men are, how they're wired, right? And when you don't understand that, then you can complain about something that maybe he just really can't help, because it is a common thing about men. Now, before you come for me, I know there are exceptions to every rule. But just like if you were getting ready to cook something, you need to know your way around the kitchen, right? So when somebody tells you to put a teaspoon of something in, you know what a teaspoon is. Or when someone says, use a certain pan with certain dimensions, you're not going to reach in for a skillet, but you understand a cake pan. So there are certain things you need to know about the setup, about the framework, and then operate with that knowledge. It always helps because, hey, I've learned just wanting to eat does not make you a professional when it comes to cooking. And just because you want a great partnership doesn't mean that you are actually relationship ready or that you're emotionally intelligent. And so my role today is to just kind of help you to learn the lay of the land. Maybe some things that maybe no one told you. I know that was the case with me. There were a lot of mistakes that I made because I didn't know. No one told me. And so I had to try to figure it out on my own. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a smart woman, but I got so many things wrong. Made so many false judgments, assumptions, conjecture, where it looked like this, connecting the dots in a way that made sense to me. But when you understand men, won't no way that would make sense. That kind of stuff. So let's talk about it. Let's dig in. Okay. Most of us are looking for a man that's different from the person that hurt us. Whether that person was someone that hurt us directly, or someone that maybe our mom or authority figure told us to look out for, or something we observed. And someone made this statement that I really believe to be true. Children are great observers, but not really great interpreters. And so many of us, I think, when it comes to making decisions about who we give our heart to, our time to, a potential partner, the part of us that makes the decision is stuck in whatever has not been resolved for us, right? So for instance, if the last man that truly traumatized you, the prevailing thing that he did that hurt you the most was he cheated, then if that's the only kind of man you know, then you don't quite know how to recognize a man who won't cheat. You don't know how they present. You know what I'm saying? And there might be things that once you find out how a man presents, you'll be able to look back at where you were or the man that you were dating and say, oh my God, the signs were there. I just didn't recognize them. Right? Anybody else have that testimony? I know I did. The signs were there. But because I did not understand men, I did not understand how men present, how they show up, how you can tell the character of a man, how a good man approaches things. I didn't know any of that. So the only thing that I had to reference was the kind of men that I kept finding myself either in intimate situationships with or kept attracting, not knowing I was attracting that kind of person. You know, I've learned that sometimes with us women, because we are emotionally wired, whatever emotion we have built around something becomes so entrenched, so part of our anatomy, that like a homing system, our vibration attracts that. And actually, we attract it. It's familiar. And it's not so much that we think that that person is all that. It's that we're attracted to the hope that we can bring out the best in that person. We're basically recreating some kind of trauma that we ourselves are trying to save ourselves from. And that you is stuck in that until you allow yourself to grow, to learn, to learn your way around relationships so that you can take yourself off the hook. So here's the thing that I want you to understand. Having said all that, if your first image of a man was someone who threatened you, harmed you, neglected you, that you've got some trauma around his treatment, mistreatment of you or someone significant to you, then what gets all mangled and mixed up in that trauma is who he is as a man, because you don't know the difference, right? So from your standpoint, the things that make him a man have been the very things that caused you harm or caused you to mistrust him. So even if God sent you a good man, here's the problem. He's going to still be a man. And until you know how to untangle that ball of yarn between your emotional trauma and what presents as a man just being a man, then you're not going to like men very much. And the only thing that's really driving you is your natural attraction to masculinity, your natural pheromonal attraction to men. But beyond that, the only things that you're dealing with is your natural attraction, your sexual attraction, right? The chemistry attraction, and the part of you that wants to heal and save the broken part of yourself. So those are your drivers. And oftentimes the very thing that you're attracted to is the thing that harmed you. Let me give you an example. Let's say for most of us women, our first love is our father, our dad. Our first love is our dad. Now, if you had a great dad that loved you, was healthy towards you, modeled healthy love for you, treated you and the women in his life with respect and regard, then the things that make him a man don't put you off. So if he opened the door for you, another man opens the door for you, you're not going to be offended, right? But if you have been in a situation where the man in your life, your first love, your dad, did not treat you well, did not treat the women in his life well, and did not have good, healthy respect, regard, and boundaries for those around women, then his presentation of masculinity would offend you. Let's say he tried to open the door for you. You'd be like, no, I can open the door for myself. I don't need a man to open the door for me. You see what I'm saying? It's that your lens through which you see men and masculinity is informed by what you witnessed, what you grew up with, what harmed you, what traumatized you, what you were told about it, or even if you weren't told anything, what your mind conjured up so that it could keep you safe as a child. And nobody ever challenged it in a way that would help change what you really believe, right? So that's very, very important. And I'm not even talking about whether you're gay, lesbian, trans. I'm not even talking about your sexual orientation here. I'm talking about the confusion, the conflict between attraction and chemistry and the trauma that has informed what you think about men. Those things are going to continue to be fighting against each other until you become more wise and more informed about men, right? So I ask you again, you're praying for a good man, but do you really like men? Because even a good man, a God man, is going to still be a man. Do you know the difference between a man being a man versus a man not treating you well, a man that will not be the kind of relationship partner that is healthy and complementary and a representation of goodness to you. Okay? So now let's get into some things about men that you need to know. Okay? Are you ready? All right, let's go. One of the things that I want you to really listen to, okay, is no matter how good he is, no matter whether he is God's best for you or not, a man is never going to be a woman. Now you might say, but I don't want him to be. Truth be told, most of us do want him to be women. We want him to have the same temperament. We want him to see things the way we see them. We want him to understand and comprehend. We want him to see the world through our eyes, but he can only see through a man's eyes. He can only see through a man's eyes. He can only experience the world as a man. Okay? So that's the first thing you need to know. I know there was a gentleman who said most women want a man to be hairy versions of themselves. And the truth is, he never, ever will be. And that's not to say that you're supposed to just accept just any old thing that he does just because of that, right? But I do want you to understand, he is going to be a man, okay? And so what I'm going to share with you is what I have learned about men, okay? What I had to learn that helped me, and I hope that it'll help you too. Okay, so that was the first thing. That's the first thing. Now, I do want to say this because I hear some women say, well, I don't need a man because Jesus is my husband. I throw flag on the play. Flag on the play. To me, that's just a bunch of BS. And let me tell you why. Let's see what the record shows about Jesus. And after I tell you that, then we may have to really reconsider whether you would want Jesus to be your husband or not, right? Okay, here's some things about Jesus that I just kind of jotted down, and I'm going to read them for you. Okay, there were constant complaints about Jesus being late. He was late when Lazarus was dying, right? They sent word that Lazarus was in trouble, and Jesus did not change what he was doing to even go see about his friend. Now, of course, we're on the other side of it. We've read the whole record of the Bible, and we know all about, this is so that God's glory can be revealed. But put yourself in the shoes of a person who is interested in Jesus as a potential relationship partner. Okay, so he was constantly late, or there were complaints about him being late. He would leave at a moment's notice and go away up into a mountain. We know he went up there to pray, but unless he told you and you were dating him, you would know. All you know is you look around for him and where is he? Where is he? Government was kind of like keeping an eye on him because they thought, he might be somebody who's going to start trouble. The religious sect felt like he was blasphemous, right? So he wasn't very popular there. He broke the rules, healing the sick on the Sabbath day, not washing his hands ceremonially, not keeping the fasting times, because he told them, why should they fast when I'm here with them? A lot of the things that were considered practices, rituals indicative of a true understanding of God and relationship with him, he didn't do, right? He dined with people of ill repute, those that didn't have good reputations, like publicans and sinners and tax collectors. He was accused of being a wine bibber and hanging out with prostitutes. He wouldn't be on my list for someone to be in a relationship with or to be my husband. He was a wild card. He wasn't proper, right? He spent all his time with 12 men. Sure, there were some women that came in, but he hung with 12 men. He was constantly around them. So if you wanted to get some time alone with him, I would dare say that would be a very, very hard thing to do because he always had his squad with him, right? So I'm just saying, for those of you that think it sounds really spiritual, say that Jesus is your husband, I just would dare say, guess again. So if you want a man, there are some things that I feel like you need to know, especially if you want to vet a good relationship partner. Men tend to process things internally. So if you want him to just tell you what he's thinking, what he's feeling, what he's pondering, he's just not going to tell you until he's worked it out inside. He has to work it out inside first. He does not work it out with you. Now, we women, we tend to work it out openly, verbally. We're kind of external in how we process things. Men process internally. And it's important that you understand that. Because if you don't understand it, you're going to be thinking, he won't talk to me. You won't share anything with me. You always keep all these things to yourself. Why don't you share with me? Why don't you talk to me? It's because he's not a woman. Okay? So you got to give him time to process it first. And he may seem a little bit quiet. He may seem a little bit to himself. Just understand that he's processing. It does not mean that he doesn't love you. It does not mean that he's distracted, that he's losing interest, that you're not as important as you were before. It just means his normal way of doing things is to process things internally. Okay, that's the first thing I had to learn. Second thing is, he is not a multitasker. Usually with most men, when they're focused on one thing, they are focused on that one thing in the absence of other things. We women can focus on multiple things at the same time, but men can't do it. That's not natural to them. They are focused on one thing, and that means until they have really finished with that one thing, and this is my thinking, having shifted gears down like a Big Mac truck manual transmission, downshift, then he's not going to be able to focus on anything else. That's why it's best if he's just gotten off work, or whatever. You don't want, as soon as he walks through the door, for you to tell him all the things that's been going on, what you need from the grocery store, what the children need, what happened, this, that, and the third. He's not going to be your girlfriend. You're going to need to keep some girlfriends around, some good female family members, to talk about all the things that happen in the course of your day. He's going to need some time to decompress before he's ready to shift to something else. Because if you don't give him time to decompress, he's going to look at you like a deer in the headlight and give you that vacant look where he is checked out. And you're going to feel like, he doesn't listen to me. He's not listening to me. And the truth is, he just simply can't right now. He needs to shift gears, and he doesn't shift fast like we do. He needs some time. Okay, so whenever you think about that, just think about that old-fashioned Big Mac truck. You know how sometimes back in the day, when those trucks would get ready to come to a stop, they had to start shifting downward before they even got to the stoplight or the stop sign. Else they couldn't stop the vehicle. Think of that. Give him time to decompress. Then tell him what's on your mind. I learned that. The other thing that I've learned is living with a man is very different than dating him. My experience of men living with a man, and I've had I've been married 3 times, so, and then I've listened to other wives talk and just different things. And you'll find that most men are relatively quiet. They're relatively quiet, methodical, and routine. It's important that you understand that in his day-to-day, he's quiet. And this is why you need to become a part of his day-to-day, a part of his routine before you enter into a conjugal relationship with a man. Now, this is not something that I read. This is something that was downloaded, wisdom here, from experience. Because the man that you date is not going to be the man that you live with. And for a lot of us women, once we get married, it is a shock to our systems. And because we're looking for him to be as interested, as involved, as engaged as he was during the times we dated him, and we get together with him, he's quiet, methodical, into his routine. And a lot of times you are not a part of his routine. You were somebody he left his routine to come and date. And so it's very important that you become a part of his routine, that he begins to build you into his routine and you become a part of his routine, so that once you do move in together or get married or whatever that conjugal union is going to be, what it's going to look like, that you don't feel like you're alone in the relationship. You don't feel neglected and alone because this man won't talk, he won't say anything. He doesn't seem as interested as he used to, right? Here's the thing. You want to be a part of his life, not someone that he left his life to date. And it takes a while because men are methodical in their routine. It takes a while. It takes intention. It takes effort for you to become a part of his routine. That doesn't just happen, shazam, just because you say I do. That's why some women get upset because they're married. We're married now, and you've made room for him in your life, but he hasn't made room for you in his. So you're living together, but he's still going to work from 8 to 5, leaving work, going to the gym, exercise at the gym, meet the fellas, have some drinks, do some things, come home, get ready for the next day, eat dinner, go to bed, wake up the next day and do the same thing. And a lot of times his family is a part of his routine. So he'll go check on his mom, he'll have conversations with his sisters, he'll do those kind of things because they are a part of his routine. It isn't that he doesn't love you, it's that you are not a part of his routine. And men don't think about that. So you have to be the wise one because you're the one that has already made room for him in your head. You've made room for him in your bed. You've made room for him in your closet. You've made room for him all along. But he has left his life to be with you 9 times out of 10. So you want to become a part of his routine, and it makes the transition into marriage or into living together a whole lot easier for you and probably for him too. Okay, now let's talk about even more about the man that you date is not the man that you live with or that you're married to. And a lot of us fall in love with the man that we date. Then we get married and it's like, oh my God, where did he go? That's why you have to like him and like him in his male masculine skin first, because that dating thing will be something that happens here or there, planned here or there, But in the normal, everyday living together thing, he's not going to be the same man that you dated. And I think you need to understand that. Now, of course, you want him to still have great character. Sure you do. You want him to still be a man of integrity. Yes. Right? A man that takes you seriously, that has respect and regard for you. Yes. Right? You want him to be in love with you. Yes. But his everyday life is not dating you. He left his life to come date you. So he's not trying to misrepresent who he is. You just don't know this side of him, right? So it's very important that you understand that the man you date is not the man you'll be living with. You'll be with the day-to-day him. The ashy feet, bad breath, in between haircuts him. The snoring, bed not made up, leaves the toilet seat up him. The him that you aren't a part of. And the him that he did not have to change while he was dating you. Okay? So, yes, you have to have grace with it, as well as assert yourself as well. And for some people, it's a very, very bumpy ride. That's why that first year, they say, in marriage is kind of tough. Because both of you have a certain way of being that the other has not really been a part of. Right? And so you're trying to blend. You're trying to blend lives without losing yourself. And that takes intention, that takes effort. Okay? So I wanted you to understand that. You see, we women, we nest. We make space. We think about, we consider, we anticipate. Men don't. It is not a judgment. It's neither right nor wrong. It's just that's how men typically are. Okay? They aren't wired to. Their priorities are food, money, and sex. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. Now, if you send them to the grocery store, they'll make sure they bring you more than one of whatever it is that you sent them for. And they will lay in the bed patiently until you get in the bed because they want to have sex with you. But they don't think about those things, all those things that you are graced and wired to think about, think through, anticipate. And some things are socialization as well, right? Some things we've been socialized for our own well-being to anticipate, to know, to plan, to do. 9 times out of 10, men don't have to go through all the things that we women have to go through. So they don't have that muscle. They haven't exercised that muscle. And no matter how much they exercise it, it's like learning a second language. They'll never be as good at it as you are. And you have to have grace for that and understand that. That's just part of their packaging. That's just part of how they are wired. Okay? And that is also why you need to make sure that you know who you are and you know what your standards are and you know what you need to thrive. He cannot determine what you need for you to thrive. You have to let him know what you need in order for you to thrive in that relationship, right? Some things you're going to have to negotiate. That's true. Like closet space, right? What side of the bed you sleep on, right? You might have to negotiate those things. What you look at, who gets the remote, how long. But what you need to thrive, that cannot be negotiated. That cannot be determined by him. You have to enroll him in it. Something else you need to know about men is all men don't lie. However, they will not be forthcoming if they think you'll disapprove or they won't look good. They will withhold the total truth, but all men don't blatantly lie. Their motives are not deceitful. Their intent is not deceitful. It's just that they want to look good to you. You matter so much to them. They don't want you to disapprove. They don't want to let you down. They don't want to look weak to you. And so, therefore, they're going to massage things in a way that's going to make them look as good as possible, even if that means not saying anything at all. Let's say, for example, he washes the dishes, and in the process of putting the dishes up, he breaks one of your dishes. Okay? Now, he probably won't tell you that he broke it. Number one, he doesn't want you to be mad. So he's hoping that by not saying anything, you're not going to notice. He's hoping you just won't notice it. Right? So he hasn't lied. He hasn't lied. And you might say, wait a minute. Wait, one of these plates are missing. I know. What happened? And he may say then, oh yeah, I was putting it up and it just slipped out of my hand, or it was slippery. He might put the blame on the plate. Or he might say something in passing, like matter of factly, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to go over to mom's tonight. And then he keeps on going. And you sit there and go, you're going to your mom's tonight. Yeah, she just needed me to do something for her, and it won't take me long. I'll just go there, do it, and come on back. No problem, no harm, no foul. And you might go, okay. But then you're thinking, what? Wait a minute. Didn't you just go over there yesterday? Well, yeah, but, so I've learned they'll just kind of rush through it, like say it matter of factly or say it in passing. Because they're hoping that by saying it that way, you'll just say, oh, okay, cool, no problem. That you don't double back and say, wait a minute, right? So that I have found to be true of men. And so a lot of times they're trying to ease something past you so you don't really notice, so that you don't really go, wait a minute. So I have learned that about them, right? Now you're hoping in your vetting properly good relationship partner, you're hoping that it's something minor, right? You don't want it to be something where he's making light of something that's more serious than that. The last thing that I think is super important. And of course, I didn't say these in any particular order, but this, I think, is something very key, especially when you're in the beginnings of dating someone and you're trying to figure out how invested he is, if he really likes you, what his intentions are. When you're trying to kind of determine that, here's something that you need to know. Men are rational first, then emotionally invested. Whereas women tend to be emotionally invested first, then rational. Okay? Now, before you challenge me on it, think about what drove or drives your thinking that he might be the one. It's because of something that you feel emotionally. If you feel intense emotion around what he did, it's how you felt. It's how you felt with him. Here's the thing, ladies, that you have to understand about men. Being with you has to make sense to him. Even if he loves you, even if he has an attachment to you, he will walk away from you if being with you, giving you his heart, doesn't make sense to him. It has to make sense. Being with you has to make sense. Having you in his life has to make sense. And we as women need to understand that, because a lot of us, the reason we don't have closure is because we don't understand how he could be with us. We go through the things we've gone through together, all these different things, and he can decide that you are not the woman for him and end it. It's because there's something that maybe the relationship requires more of an investment of his heart. And it doesn't make sense to him based on what he has experienced and observed, even if he has feelings for you. Whereas women, we're different. We will justify a bad relationship because of our feelings. We will justify our needs not being met, him not being the kind of man we want, because of our feelings. And see, that's why it is important that you have enough discipline to hold your feelings at bay until you've had a chance to get to know him outside of the euphoric feeling that being with him in the beginning garnered for you. It takes a minute for the fog to clear. And it's not that either one of you is trying to withhold. It's just that we're caught up in the rapture. And it takes a while for the smoke to clear, for you to really see soberly and with your full sensibilities intact if this guy is actually someone that you can really thrive with. If he has the traits and the qualities, the values and the beliefs for the long term. And what we'll do is we'll get emotionally invested and stay in a relationship that we should have left a long time ago because we feel like we need to get something for all that we've invested in it. And what I tell people is don't invest more than you can afford to lose. And I know it's not first nature for us women, but as we mature, especially for my over 40, over 50, over 60-year-old women, you have to learn how to walk and chew gum at the same time. You have to learn how to enjoy the dating, enjoy the feeling without being ready to assign a title. Without you telling your family and friends, you know, he might be the one. You don't have all the information yet. You both are putting your best foot forward. Sure, you're being who you are, but you both are still putting your best foot forward. You both are still in a fog of beginnings. And you need to wait. I think that's really the reason why Steve Harvey talked about the 90-day rule. Because in 90 days, that's usually when the smoke is starting to clear. And you're starting to really see who this person truly is. And it gives you a chance to see if he's worthy of your body yet. Because if you already like him, and he has your body too, it makes it even more difficult to detach. Or like an audio I did some time ago says, it takes you a minute to take your heart back. Because you've given him your heart. Right? And for many of us women, we give our hearts prematurely. We create this fantasy that he is more than what he has proven himself to be. We're only going on how he makes us feel. And while that is very important, he should make you feel these things because you're worthy of feeling those things. But before you give him your heart and your hand, you need to pump the brakes to see if once the smoke is cleared, when you have your first real difference of opinion, when you have your first real conflict, that's when you find out who this person truly is. Right? So that's the difference. And listen, he can still want to sleep with you. He can still show up for dinner. He can still show up for all the benefits of you and still not be fully invested in a relationship with you. Right? He can cry and still tell you goodbye because the relationship has to make sense. It has to make sense in here before it can make sense in here. And I don't want you to go through a whole lot of, but I don't understand. He told me he loved me. He told me these things. But just because he has feelings or has a sense of attachment does not mean he's ready to make the next step in commitment. And so you have to play your cards kind of close to the chest until you know what he's made of. Until you have seen him process and come back even more committed to you. That he sees you in his future, right? So you have to really truly understand that. You have to understand that. It doesn't mean that he won't commit. It doesn't mean those things. It means you and him together have to make sense. And it's when he's away from you that he is ascertaining what's next? Right? Now, because I believe that your heart is your responsibility, I am not in any way, shape, or form suggesting that you sit and wait for him to make his mind up about you. Right? But I am saying there's got to be a balance, because it takes time. And I'll say this, even if he says, I knew you were the one when I first met you, that does not mean that he has fully processed everything yet that comes with having you. Now, maybe he already had his mind made up as to what he was looking for in a woman, and he sees that in you, and he's ready to go on and move forward and lock it down. But from a woman's standpoint, you need to know exactly what he's signing you up for. Because my experience has been, when a man rushes you down the aisle, usually there's some kind of agenda there. That's not necessarily saying it's a bad agenda. It's just that you need to know exactly what he's measuring you for. It could be that he wants custody of his child, and he knows that he can do a better job of getting custody if he has a wife. So he's measuring you to be a wife so he can get his daughter, but not necessarily a wife that he's given his heart to, that he can fulfill for you what you would need out of a husband. And that's why I always tell women, don't let anybody rush you. Find out first. After the euphoria is over, find out first why they're rushing you to the altar, why they're rushing you. Find out. Find out what their true motivation is. Because if he means right by you, love can wait. If he's already got you, if he already thinks of you as a forever part of his life, till death us do part of his life, then what's the rush? The till death us do part doesn't start because of a marriage license and a wedding. If he's already determined that that's who you are for him, then he'll wait you out until you're ready, because he's already sold that you are that for him. So there's no reason for him to rush you in that wise. Now, if he wants to put a ring on it, there's got to be a fairness. There has to be something in you that's moving in that direction. You just need a little bit more information before you will say yes. What that information is, you got to resolve some things in here, resolve some things in here, resolve some trauma that maybe might be blinding you to the great thing that's in front of you. But just to assure him that you're moving in that direction, you just got to clear some things up first. And you keep showing up, right? Because that's where you want to go. But if he's rushing you down an aisle and you ain't ready to go, then don't. Then don't. Because if he truly believes you're his person, he can wait you out. He can wait you out. That's my belief. Now, of course, there are going to always be exceptions. But most of the exceptions are both people ready to do it at the same time. They both had everything that they felt like they needed to have, and they did it. And some of those marriages have lasted for a lifetime. But there have also been people that jumped in without fully understanding what they were signing up for. And things didn't go well. Their marriages didn't last a good month or two. Didn't even last a whole full year. Right? And so you have to be wise with your heart. And a wise heart can be trusted, but an immature heart cannot. I'll say it again. A wise heart can be trusted, but an immature one cannot. So I would say, don't follow your heart unless your heart is wise. Okay? And in the conclusion of the matter, it is critical that you like men. So if in any of these areas you have not really thought about it, you haven't understood how men are, then you need to take some time to get to understand men as they are. Right? And you also need to spend enough time with him to see if he likes women. Because if he's trying to turn you into a man, responding like a man, being tough like a man, then there might be some trauma in his life that has caused him to not like women. And you need to know before you sign on the dotted line that he truly likes and respects women on women's terms. And you need to understand that, because that's what you're going to be actually living with. If you know some things that you've learned, then please feel free to put it in the comments and we can talk about it. See you next episode.